Exposed. 13 haunted cybercrimes that revealed sinister secrets about the digital underworld. Lisa slid her key into the lock, but the familiar click felt wrong. She pushed the door open, and the heavy silence hit her like a cold wave. The house was dark, with only the moonlight spilling silver onto the worn-out carpet. She took a deep breath, trying to shake off the exhaustion from her shift at the hospital. But a primal fear snaked through her, whispering that something was off. As she settled on the couch, her phone buzzed with an alert and unsettling rattle as if warning her of the impending horror. Scrolling through her social media feeds, Lucy's heart sank as she found her own name splashed across her screen. How? Who? Stripped of privacy, they had shared personal secrets buried deep within the walls of her home, details only known to her and a handful of trusted friends. Her fingers trembled against the cold screen as she read more. Jake's name intertwined with stories of struggle, their misfortunes laid bare like fresh wounds. Clenching her jaw, the chill of disbelief turned to rage. This isn't just invasion. It's cruel and unrelenting terror lurking just outside her door. Mom! Jake called from his room, desperation dripping from his voice. She hurried down the hallway, her heart pounding against her chest. The sight of her son, eyes wide and face pale, sweated with a panic that mirrored her own. He stood there, paralyzed by disbelief, scrolling through a post that illuminated their struggles, their financial woes. The late-night calls that left Lisa teetering on the edge of burnout. Who would do this? He whispered, shaking. Days slipped by like a dark tide, carrying with it an undercurrent of unrest. Lisa noticed oddities. The car that wouldn't start just when she needed it the most, doors she swore she had locked hanging ajar, cool drafts breaking through the stillness of her home like ghostly fingers. And then there were the envelopes. They appeared seemingly out of nowhere. Unmarked, filled with cryptic messages that twisted in her mind a sick game played by an unseen hand. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Dread settled into her bones as she faced her neighbors anew. Where once there were friendly faces, now shadows of suspicion loomed larger. What if those she trusted held the keys to the darkness creeping into their lives? Held hostage by paranoia, she descended into a digital abyss. The thrill of discovery turned into horror. She unearthed an underground market where families like hers were torn apart by the very secrets they thought they could bury. Her stomach churned. And just as she stumbled upon critical leads, a trusted figure in the community, a local leader known for his warm smiles and helpful hands, surfaced among whispers of betrayal and complicity. As isolation's grip tightened, Lisa's world screamed for solace while collapsing inward. Under the guise of night, the lines separating friend from foe blurred, and fear escalated to a terrifying climax. Then the moment came, a pulse of urgency driving her to the corner of her dimly lit alley. She came face to face with one of the hackers, and the horror of recognition pierced her heart. A face reserved for love and safety twisted into something monstrous, unveiling a past she had fought to escape. Panic surged, her sanctuary shattered, leaving her teetering at the edge. How far would she go to protect her son? Lisa's mind raced as she stumbled backward, desperately trying to process the shocking revelation. The face before her, once a source of comfort, now loomed like a dark specter haunting her past. Jason, her childhood friend turned suburban pillar, stood with a twisted smile that both terrified and bewildered her. Lisa, he purred, his voice sliding off his tongue like silk but dripping with malice. I knew you'd come here. It's too late to play the victim now. The alley felt suffocating, the shadows closing in as if they had come alive, eager to consume her. Lisa's heart drummed a frantic rhythm in her chest, drowning out her thoughts. What do you want from us? She demanded, anger flaring through her fear. Want? He laughed, a hollow sound that echoed against the damp brick. I want you to feel what you've hidden away. Secrets bind us, Lisa. You should know that by now. The weight of his words pressed down on her. How many times had she confided in him? How many nights had they spent laughing and sharing dreams? But those days felt like eons ago, replaced by this monstrous version of her friend, twisted by the very darkness she had feared. Lisa's stomach churned as the memories flickered through her mind. Their shared laughter, and then the shadows that crept in a betrayal from someone they once trusted. It made sense now. The secrets they had buried together became weapons in his hands. Don't you see? He continued, stepping closer, invading her space. You and your family are just pieces on the board. The real game is much bigger. Control. Fear. It's exhilarating, don't you think? Desperation clawed at her throat. You're sick, she spat, bile rising. Am I? Or am I simply the reflection of the world around you? His eyes glinted with a fevered intensity that sent shivers down her spine. She turned to flee, dragging her feet towards the mouth of the alley, but Jason's voice curled around her, halting her in her tracks. You can't run, Lisa. Not from me. Not from your own past. She felt a surge of survival instinct take over. With a burst of adrenaline, she focused on the exit, determined to break free. Stay away from my son. The laughter echoed, brazen and chilling. Oh, but I'm just getting started, remember. Lisa, every secret has a price. Yours is just beginning to unfold. Watch your back. With every ounce of strength, she sprinted away, heart pounding, breath coming in ragged gasps. The weight of his eyes burned into her back, amplifying the terror coursing through her veins. As she reached the streetlight, she cared little for how her world had cracked apart yet again. All that mattered was escaping the darkness. But even as relief washed over her as she stepped back into the safety of her neighborhood, a cold realization sank in. A figure loomed in the shadows across the street, watching with intense scrutiny. A reminder that Jason's influence was far-reaching, his web intricate and veiled. What if he's not the only one? Lisa breathed, dread pooling in her stomach again. She wanted to prepare, to fight back, but each text from unknown sources continued to pop up, swirling like ominous clouds around her life. That night, as Lisa lay awake, every creak of the house echoed like a whisper. She could almost feel those secrets tightening their grip on her throat. And then it hit her, a message tinged with menace. I know where you are. The room plunged into darkness, her phone's battery dying at that very moment. The feeling of isolation and terror swelled around her. What would she uncover next? Lisa jolted awake, her heart pounding like a war drum. Night enveloped her, the darkness wrapping around her like a suffocating blanket. Panicked breaths filled the room as she fumbled for her phone, desperate for a light, desperate to surface from the shadows gnawing at her sanity. The screen flickered back to life. Low battery. The cruel reminder flashed before she could read the ominous message. She stared at the ceiling, trying to drown out the whispers of fear making their way through her mind. Jason's twisted words twisted like ivy around her thoughts. You can't run, Lisa. In that moment, she felt like prey, a hunted animal with no escape route. She swung her feet onto the floor. The chill of the wood sent a jolt of ice coursing through her. She stepped lightly, each creak amplifying the nerves of dread shooting up her spine. Outside, the wind howled, rattling the windows like a mournful ghost. She peered through the blinds, scanning the street for signs of Jason or anyone tied to his malevolence. Fear clutched her throat, narrowing her vision until all she could see were shadows. The distinct ring of her phone sliced through the silence, making her jump. A surge of hope rushed through her, quickly quelled by anxiety. Who could it be? With trembling hands, she answered. Hello? A rasp, then heavy breathing filled the line. Are you safe, Lisa? Who is this? She demanded, heart racing faster now, each beat echoing in her ears. You know who I am. The voice was deep, monotone, an undercurrent of fear laced through it. You need to be careful. He.S. watching. Her blood froze. What do you know about him? Enough to know you and your son are in danger. The voice said ominously. The game has just begun. Jason is not the only threat lurking in the dark. The line go dead. Lisa dropped the phone, her mind racing. What was happening? She paced, the walls pressing in like the very shadows she feared. Closing her eyes, she gasped for breath. Was it true what the stranger said? Was there more than Jason behind the threats? Suddenly, a loud bang echoed through the house, something hitting the door. Panic surged. She grabbed a kitchen knife. It felt too small, too insignificant against the fear coursing through her veins. But it was all she had. She edged toward the front door, shadows dancing along the hallway. The air was thick with cold, static anticipation. She peeked through the peephole, heart hammering. Nothing but the stark emptiness of the porch greeted her. Is anyone there? She called out, her voice trembling. Silence. She dared to open the door a crack, peering into the dark world outside. Just then, the door swung wide, pulled by an unseen force. Lisa stumbled back, gasping. The figure that stepped forward was not Jason. It was someone familiar yet horrifyingly transformed. Surprised? He stepped into the light, revealing a face half-masked, eyes burning with an intensity that chilled her to the bone. What do you want? She stammered, gripping the knife tighter. Game time, Lisa, he grinned, revealing rotten teeth. Let us see how deep your secrets run. Fear choked her as she backed away, adrenaline pumping like a firestorm within her. Heart racing, she had to think fast. But just then, she heard the unmistakable sound of her son whimpering from the hallway. The moment shattered her, panic surging anew. In that instant, she realized she was not just fighting for herself. What would she do now? Would she risk confronting this creature to protect her child? Or would the game drag them both into its twisted depths? As she stood frozen, trapped between fear and instinct, the door creaked ominously behind her, emboldening the shadows. She knew one thing: every choice would cost something, and the stakes were climbing higher by the second. How far would she have to go to save what was left of her family? Lisa's breath quickened as the figure loomed closer, shadow stretching against the walls like a predator sizing up its kill. You think you can hide? The masked man's voice was a snake's hiss, coiling around her with an icy grip. The game has started, and all your little secrets are now fair play. Stay away from me. She raised the knife, though it felt like a twig against the storm. The man chuckled, the sound scraping against her nerves. Oh, Lisa, it's not just you I want. It's the whole game. Your boy too, what will you sacrifice to keep him safe? A deep, soft whimper echoed from the hallway, slicing through her haze of terror. Max! She shrieked, dashing back, the knife trembling in her hand. Her instincts kicked in, overriding every ounce of fear pulsating in her body. The figure's laughter rang out, ugly and harsh. That's right. Run, Lisa. Run to the only thing you care about. But can you protect him? Or will you just watch while the darkness wraps around him? Max's cries pushed her forward, but the voice echoed in her mind. Darkness. Shadows lurking not just outside but in the edges of her soul. Hadn't she felt it tightening all these years? Rushing down the corridor, each step rang out like a heartbeat against the walls. The living room stood vast and empty, except for the flickering shadows. It was a trap now. Every corner could hide the hideous thing wearing Jason's face or something worse. Max, she called, her voice shaky but urgent. Silence blanketed her, swallowing the sound. The threat behind her was palpable, but familiarity pulled at her. Turning the corner toward his bedroom, she pushed the door open. Max, sweetheart. The room was dark. She rushed in, feeling for the light switch, but even when the bulb flickered, it cast more shadows than warmth. She glanced at the bed, the toys strewn haphazardly on the floor, but no sign of her son. Where are you, baby? Panic clawed at her throat, and then she caught the glimpse of Russell by the closet door. Max, she shouted, sprinting across the room. Mommy! His frightened voice came from inside. Her heart leaped, but a shadow slithered behind her, a cold breath snaking down her spine. When she turned back, the masked man stood in the doorway, grinning wider, teeth yellowed and crooked. Too late, he crooned. End of the line. Without thinking, she lunged for the closet. The door burst open as she grabbed Max, yanking him against her. The warmth of his small body grounding her amidst the chaos. Stay close, she ordered, her grip tightening around him. But there was no escape. The masked figure stepped into the room, his eyes an explosive mix of delight and hunger. He was a predator and she was the cornered prey. You've made this so much more entertaining, Lisa. But the rules are simple. Someone has to pay. Leave him out of this, she shouted, her voice cracking. Too late to scream for help now, he replied. But I've really been looking forward to this part. As if on cue, the walls vibrated with a low rumble. The past crept into the present. Old memories spewed forth like dark, leaking clouds. The air shifted, thick with the scent of fear. What had she buried that he could use against them? Game on, Lisa. What will you let him suffer to save yourself? He stepped closer, the mere presence of him suffocating. And just like that, everything crumbled around her. The room felt like it was closing in, shadows dancing, whispering in her ears. She stumbled back, her mind a cacophony of hopelessness. And then, from somewhere deeper within the house, came a louder crash and another voice familiar yet twisted. Mom! Help! Lisa's world shattered all over again. In that moment, she knew. The game was only beginning. What price was she willing to pay to save her son, her past, her secrets? The air grew denser, suffocating her with despair. The question clung to her, and the masked man watched with eyes alight, waiting for her answer. A wave of dread washed over Lisa as the masked man moved closer, his laughter reverberating in the hollow room. She tightened her grip around Max, who pressed his small, trembling body against her waist. Every instinct screamed to run, to escape this nightmare, but the shadows pulsated with the weight of their history, darkening the path ahead. Mommy, I'm scared, Max whispered, tears glistening in his wide eyes. I know, sweetheart, she breathed out, forcing the words through the tightness of her throat. Just hold on to me. The masked figure cocked his head, curiosity draped over his sinister smile. You think that will save him? His voice dripped with mockery. You're trapped in a web of your own making. Lisa's mind raced. The shadows of her past clawed at her sanity. What had she done? What hadn't she faced? The house felt alive, haunted by every mistake, every regret, whispering truths she wished could stay buried. Then came another crash. The sound echoed into the room like shattered glass, and the masked man's grin widened, revealing more of his jagged teeth. More players. Aren't you lucky? But no one will save you, Lisa. His smirk sent icy tendrils creeping down her spine. Suddenly, the air shifted, thick with tension, punctuated by the thudding heartbeats that quickened in her ears. She glanced at Max, who was looking past her in wide-eyed horror. Mommy! Max breathed, his tiny voice breaking. There in the doorway, another shadow flickered, a figure, just beyond the threshold, half engulfed by darkness. Lisa squinted, her heart hammering, as recognition churned in her stomach. Could it be Jason? Jason! She shouted, but the figure melted away, swallowed by the night. The realization hit her, was it really him, or an illusion? Her mind twisted. The idea of her husband trapped in this sick game chilled her, threatening to pull her into despair. Wondering if it's him? The masked man sneered, leaning in closer. He's not who you think he is anymore. Stop! Lisa snapped, shielding Max with her body. Anger sparked within her, igniting fleeting courage. Fighting back now? But this game demands sacrifices. Ask yourself, Lisa, what are you willing to lose? He stepped closer, his presence suffocating. The air grew heavier, thick with dread, and the shadows encroached, melding into one velvety darkness. Max, we need to move. Lisa seized her child's hand. But as she turned, the room shifted. The doorway had closed, the walls narrowing like a trap. She was ensnared more than physically, but mentally, trapped in a maze of her own regrets. Then came a low, grating sound, a whispering echo, conjuring memories long buried. Lisa stumbled, caught in the frenetic grasp of her own thoughts. Flickering scenes rolled out in front of her, heartbreaking glimpses of laughter fractured by pain. Friends turned enemies, love turned toxic. Lisa, the truth won't let you go. A distant voice crooned from the dark, sending shivers through her body. Shut up, she screamed, but the shadows pressed in, urging her to listen. To remember, is that desperation I smell? The masked man taunted, laughter slicing through the thick atmosphere. The game demands a price, and it is always heavier than you anticipate. With every breath, Lisa felt the weight of her secrets crashing down, threatening to expose every weakness, every fear, every moment that had shaped her life. Would she succumb to the darkness or fight back, no matter the cost? Max pulled at her hand, taking a step back. Mom, please. In that moment, the true terror dawned upon her. Would she sacrifice her love, her secrets, even herself to save her son? The decision hung in the air like a pendulum of doom. And then, from the suffocating shadows, came a sudden spark of light, a flicker of hope amidst despair. But the masked man's eyes shimmered with malice as he extended a gloved hand, ready to unveil the next torment. Choose wisely, Lisa. The clock is ticking. As the darkness pulsed around her, she felt the impending threat of everything coming to a climactic head. What would she do when the light finally revealed the truth? The moment the light flickered, illuminating the room just enough to cast fleeting shadows against the peeling wallpaper, a pang of hope sparked in Lisa's chest. But it was quickly snuffed out by the emptiness that surrounded her. The masked man's grin widened, cruel and triumphant, as though he reveled in her uncertainty. Choose, he commanded, voice booming. You have but moments to decide the fate of your son. Lisa's heart raced wildly, pounding against her ribcage like a trapped bird. The only thing she could focus on was the warmth of Max's small hand in hers, steady and real. But the fear gnawed at her insides. What lay beyond that light? Could it lead to safety, or would it expose her greatest fears? Mom, I don't want to play, Max whimpered, his voice breaking, pulling her back from the brink of indecision. The masked man rolled his head back, laughing loudly. He is so innocent, isn't he? But innocence doesn't save you here. What will you give for his safety, Lisa? What part of your soul can you bear to sacrifice? His words sank into her like knives, twisting in her gut. The secrets she kept buried felt heavier now. Would she lay bare her past, the choices that brought her to this wretched place? The thought of exposing everything made her stomach churn. Enough, she screamed. I won't let you take anything from me. You don't control me. A moment of silence hung in the air, thick as fog, before the man's laughter erupted again, sinister and echoing. You think you can fight the inevitable? The truth always prevails. Like it or not, you will lose someone. With a wave of his hand, the walls seemed to pulse. The light flickered again and then vanished, plunging them back into the clutches of darkness. Panic surged within her. She felt weightless, as if the world had fallen from beneath her feet. Mom! Max's voice trembled, grounding her. No, stay close, she shouted, feeling her throat tighten with fear. Then the darkness moved. A swarm of whispers slithered through the air, sounding like voices she recognized, tormenting her with echoes of the past. They beckoned her, exposed her, scraped against her mind like thorny vines. Former friends who once celebrated with her were now faceless shadows, their laughter transformed into shrieks of accusation. Lisa, you'll never be free until you confess, they chorused, reverberating endlessly. Stop it. Just stop, she screamed, but the words faded against the tidal wave of memories crashing down. Vivid scenes played before her eyes, trust broken, friendships shattered, and the choices that had spiraled her life into chaos. Mommy, I'm scared, Max cried again, his tiny body shaking against her. Max, please, just trust me, she urged, rushing the words as if they could shield him from the chaos. But as she looked around, shadows morphed into twisted faces that mirrored her own regrets. Lisa swallowed hard, feeling an unnerving chill gripping her heart. Was she merely a puppet in this grotesque play? Would she become the source of her son's pain? The masked man stepped forward, the stench of his malevolence wrapping around her neck like a noose. What now, Lisa? What will you choose? Truth or sacrifice? Only one will keep your sweet little boy safe. With a deep breath, she closed her eyes against the flood of guilt. Memories of her husband floated to the forefront. Jason's kind smile amidst her nightmares. But was he still the same man? In that instant of decision, the shadows seemed to bend and crack. The masked figure was right. The game was changing. This is your last chance, he hissed, his voice slipping into a low growl. Choose or lose both. She felt the heat of desperation clawing at her throat. As her heart thumped harder, Lisa opened her eyes, faced with the swirling void of impossibility ahead. She had to choose, and time was running out. Mom, Max whispered, a pale reflection of her own fear. The bell tolled in the distance, the echo slicing through the thick atmosphere. Your truth is your weapon. What will you do with it? With the masked man's eyes glinting with anticipation, a decision loomed on the horizon, and Lisa's heart plummeted. What path would she take? What shocking revelation awaited in the depths of her past? Lisa's breath quickened, fear clawing at her throat as she faced the darkness. The masked man's laughter twisted through the room, wrapping around her, tightening like a vice. Do you feel it, Lisa? The pressure? The weight of your own demons? Max's fingers gripped hers tighter, as if sensing the impending doom. Mom, I don't want this. His small voice trembled, breaking her heart. His innocence, so pure and bright, felt like a beacon amidst the swirling shadows. Shut up. The masked figure's voice was laced with venom, and with that hiss, the air chilled. The shadows wavered, shifting and morphing into grotesque caricatures of the people Lisa had wronged. They emerged from the dark, their hollow eyes searching and accusing. Lisa, they cried in unison, their voices a tumult of rage and despair. You left us behind. You betrayed us. No, it wasn't he like that, she shouted, but her voice trembled against the weight of their accusations. She could feel her heart pounding against her chest, every beat echoing her guilt. Your past haunts you, the masked man leered, stepping closer, his breath rancid and heavy. You want to save your son? Then set yourself free. Confess. Each word struck her like a slap, relentless and electrifying. Memories flooded her mind, sharp and jagged, a night too painful to recall. The way she had cast aside those who trusted her, the lies that spiraled her into darkness. Mommy, Max whimpered, pulling on her arm. Don't listen to him, she cried, though doubt danced at the edges of her resolve. Was it true she had abandoned others for her own gain? The thought was a dagger in her soul. Look closer, he commanded, eyes glowing like embers in the dark. You know the truth lies in your heart. Face it. The ghostly figures advanced, their whispers like knives scraping against bone. Confess, Lisa. Expose your sins. We deserve to know. No, I won't say a word, she screamed, defiance roaring back to life. But within her, fear coiled like a snake. You think it ends here? The masked man's voice dripped with sadistic glee. You can stay in the dark, but then your son will pay the price. Suddenly, a flicker of light surged in front of her, momentarily illuminating the chaos. In its glow, she could see Max's frightened face, a reflection of her own terror. It was a stark reminder of what was at stake. Choose wisely, Lisa. The masked man's tone darkened, an unsettling calm settling over the room. Let the past die, or let your son suffer the consequences of your silence. Silence engulfed them, heavy and suffocating. Lisa's mind raced, grappling with the tormenting question. What if she revealed everything? Would that make her a monster or a martyr? Can't, she uttered, trembling. I can't. But with each passing second, the weight of her decision pressed down harder, threatening to crush her completely. The shadows lunged, becoming more aggressive, their faces melding into grotesque displays of agony. The bell tolled again, louder, slicing the tension like a blade. "Last chance, Lisa," the masked man crooned, leaning closer, a predator tasting his prey. "Your truth is the key. What horror lies beneath your skin?" As a scream rose in her chest, Lisa could feel the abyss stretching before her. Could she afford to let the darkness win? "Mom, please," Max cried, tears streaming down his small cheeks. "I don't want to lose you." With that plea echoing in the air, Lisa felt her heart crack. Was this really her choice to make? The line between betrayal and truth blurred as shadows hovered, transforming into a whirlwind of suffocating memories. And just as despair threatened to consume her, the light flickered again, illuminating a path, a way to fight back. There was no escape, no hiding anymore. "Max, hold on," Lisa cried, determination rising like a tide. But as she stepped forward into the light, a chilling whisper brushed against her ear. "What if your truth is far worse than you ever imagined?" Fear pooled in her stomach as the very floors seemed to tremble beneath her, and the shadows surged, ready to swallow her whole. What did she hide that could change everything? Would the truth shatter her or save them both? The instant Lisa took a step into that wavering light, the world spun into chaos. The shadows recoiled, then surged forward, enveloping Max in a black shroud. She lunged, grasping for him as a chorus of wails erupted, tearing at her sanity. "Max!" she screamed, her voice raw with panic. The shadows twisted, their forms shifting grotesquely as they wrapped around her son. She could barely breathe, her heart pounding in her ears like a war drum, drowning out everything else. "Mom!" Max's terrified voice clawed through the suffocating darkness like a lifeline. "Help me! Hang on, honey!" Lisa shouted, desperation fueling her. The masked man watched, delight dancing in his eyes, relishing her struggle. "You think you're his savior?" His voice dripped with contempt. "You can't save him until you save yourself. Confess your sins, and maybe, just maybe, he will be freed." Each word slicked her with dread. Shadows writhed around her ankles, squeezing like cold hands, pulling her back. Lisa locked eyes with the figures, each one distorting into faces she recognized. Friends, family, all lost because of her choices. I can't, she gasped. "Then neither will your son." His voice was a snake's hiss, venomous and calm. "Feel their pain, Lisa. Share it. Your truth needs to be known." Max's cries echoed as the shadows began to drag him deeper into the void. The darkness thrashed around them, a raging storm of guilt and despair. She felt her grip slip. The helplessness was like drowning, suffocating and inescapable as tears streamed down her face. Memories overshadowed her determination, her choices that led to heartache. Betrayals that were easier to forget than confront. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone," she whispered, a lie that settled heavy on her tongue. "Didn't you?" The masked figure leaned in closer, the malevolence radiating from him like a noxious cloud. "Admit it. You chose selfishness. You chose darkness. They deserve retribution." A surge of anger pushed against her despair. "I'm not them. I'm not that person anymore." She clawed at the shadows, trying to force them away. "Mommy!" Max's voice now trembled with desperation. "Please." She couldn't lose him. Not again. Not like this. "Lisa." The shadows cajoled. "Embrace the truth. Your reluctance brings your son's suffering. Only then can you save him." The darkness rose higher, and Lisa felt herself spiraling into the depths of her own fear. Would she expose the truth? The very thought scared her more than the demons circling around her. What could it cost? With a fierce cry, she lunged toward the light again. "I will not let you have him." The moment her hands stretched into the glowing brightness, the voices faltered. They recoiled as if burned. "Foolish woman," the masked man spat. "You have awakened the truth." In that instant the light flickered. The shadows shrieked as the gallery of broken faces closed in, revealing the full extent of her betrayal. Visions struck her like lightning. The night unfolded in dramatic horror, the choices she made, the lives sacrificed, the masks she wore as clarity washed over her. The fight to save Max transformed into a battle against her own demons. She felt the ground tremble beneath her feet, the air thickening with dread. The walls cracked as darkness threatened to break free, fueled by her buried secrets. Lisa. The maternal whisper hung in the air like a ghost. It felt familiar, almost soothing but filled with pain. What if letting my truth out destroys everything? She thought, panic clawing at her resolve. Suddenly, everything went still, the shadows pausing as if waiting for her to reveal that dark secret they yearned to consume. Silence blanketed over them, thick and suffocating. Then came the eerie sound of the bell tolling once more, a haunting reminder that time was running out. With a final deep breath, Lisa steeled herself. Her voice shook, but she began to speak. I took everything for granted. As the words hung in the air, her grip on reality slipped, shadows swirling like a violent tempest. What came next would unveil the truth she had hidden all. This time, was it too late? Would her confession save Max or seal their fate forever? Just as the last echo of her words faded, a convulsion rippled through the darkness. The shadows responded, lashing out like wild serpents, wild and furious. Lisa's heart raced, a frenzied drumbeat drowning out the chaotic shrieking. Max! She called again, tears blurring her vision. The shadows twisted violently, nearly ripping him from her grasp. But she never abandoned him. Somehow she had to pull the truth out, a gunshot through the night. She felt an answering pulse within her: anger, regret, resolve. The masked figure laughed, the sound slicing through her like frost. Do you think your tears matter? There's no redemption without suffering. There's no light in this darkness until you accept your sins. With that, the shadows swelled and surged, forming grotesque faces that leered at her. Each visage twisted with mockery, a friend-esque smile turned into a sneer, her mother-esque concerned frown morphing into a look of disdain. The figures reached for her, an insatiable hunger in their vacant eyes. I'm sorry, Lisa gasped, clutching her head as anguish ripped through her soul like a jagged knife. I'm so sorry. It felt like baring her chest before a firing squad, exposing herself to the very wounds she had hidden. Say it, the masked man hissed, stepping closer. Say what you've buried deep. The shadows flared, enraged by her hesitation. They pressed in tighter, squeezing her heart with icy pincers. Max was still screaming somewhere behind the walls of darkness, and the sheer terror of losing him fueled her. I used people, she finally shouted, her voice piercing through the cacophony. Louder, he urged, a twisted grin stretching across his lips, gleeful at her exposure. I hurt them. She felt herself break a little more, but a part of her hardened. I took their kindness for granted. I destroyed lives with my selfishness. For a heartbeat, there was silence. The shadows stuttered, and the faces flickered, quaking at her confession. Light pulsed at the edges of the darkness, just out of reach. Hope dared to rise within her, but it was quickly snuffed out by the sound of Max's whimpers. No, she screamed, forcing the words out, pushing against the suffocating darkness. I let my ambition blind me. I cared more for myself than their lives. Another convulsion racked the shadows, and they shrieked in outrage. Raw pain twisted through her with each revelation, but something shifted. Her pulse steadied. Reality glimmered somewhere beyond the reach of despair. Keep going, the masked figure cried, fury crashing against her walls of truth. You will not escape the punishment. But Lisa wouldn't yield. The images of those she hurt surged forward, vivid and remorseful. But she faced them now, no longer drowning under their accusing glares. I thought I could make it right. I thought furthering my career meant success. She bellowed, summoning every ounce of courage. But in truth, I was greedy. I pushed away the ones who loved me, just to climb higher. I was wrong. The darkness retreated momentarily, trembling with her words. Max's cries changed to fearful silence, and she took another breath, steeling herself against the horror closing in. Accept it, Lisa, the masked man yelled, desperation clawing at his voice. Embrace your darkness. The ground shook violently beneath her, as if the very world reacted against her honesty. But her words cascaded out, crumbling down the walls she had built. I abandoned my family. I betrayed their trust. A rumbling roar erupted from the shadows, merging into a single entity, thrashing like a trapped beast. Then she saw it, a flash of colors, a whirling vortex forming above her, a portal shimmering with hope and lingering darkness. What as she gasped, fear flaring at the edge. Max's voice broke through the chaos again, quieter now but unmistakable. "Mom?" He sounded so small and frightened. "Max!" she shouted, surging forward toward the portal, desperate to free him. The flickering light was her only hope. But would the truth she bared bring salvation or lead to even deeper darkness? As she reached out, the shadows roared in. Fury, swirling in a tempest of claws and teeth. "I'll save you, Max!" Lisa cried, plunging into the unknown. What awaited her on the other side? Would she find her son or unleash something even more terrifying? Lisa felt the air shift around her as she dove into the portal, light slicing through the darkness like a knife. Instinct urged her forward, the sound of Max's voice propelling her. The shadows rasped and shrieked behind her, desperately clawing to pull her back, but she wouldn't let them. "Mom!" Max's voice echoed through the blinding brilliance. Just ahead, she could make out a silhouette, a small figure half encased in the swirling shadows. "Max!" she screamed, pushing against the force of the darkness bearing down on her as she surged forward. The whispering voices of the shadows turned into jagged roars of anger. "You can't escape," they shrieked, but Lisa's heart thundered louder than their cries, each beat a declaration of her determination. She reached for Max, her fingers outstretched, desperation and love igniting her very soul. The moment their hands connected, a surge of warmth enveloped her, a rush of pure energy that forced the shadows back. Light enveloped them, blinding yet comforting, washing away the malice that had haunted them for so long. "I'm here. I've got you," Lisa gasped, pulling Max closer, shielding him from the encroaching darkness. In that instant, the jagged forms of the malicious memories flickered. Faces she once recognized twisted, contorted by years of hurt. But instead of retreating in fear, she stood firm against their onslaught, gripping her son tightly. "You don't control me anymore," she shouted into the void, the power of her words resonating against the shadows. "Mommy, I'm scared," Max whimpered, but Lisa could feel his grip tightening around her hand, a connection stronger than fear. "Just hold tight," she urged, her voice unwavering despite the tempest around them. "We'll face this together." With every ounce of strength she had left, Lisa pushed through the shifting darkness, each step fueled by her love for her son, her resolve to break the chains of the past. "Face your fears," the masked figure's derisive laughter echoed, twisted and gloating. "You think this is over? Your truth will be your undoing." But with each step forward, Lisa felt herself transforming. The shadows recoiled like serpents in retreat, unable to withstand the force of her declaration. "I won't be ashamed of my scars anymore," she proclaimed. "They are part of me, but they don't define me. I made mistakes. I own them. But I also choose to fight for my family." The air crackled with energy, the intensity of her confession shaking the very foundation of darkness around them. "Together we are stronger than your lies." Lisa faced the swirling abyss, finding strength in the truth that had long lived within her, a fierce, radiant light igniting with each memory she reclaimed. Suddenly, with a mighty roar, the shadows began to fracture. The masked figure's laughter dissolved into a scream of rage, swallowed by the brilliance of her resolve. The portal widened, pulling them in deeper. In that moment, Lisa knew there was no turning back. "Hold on," she called, clutching Max closer, the glow around them now blinding. Light exploded, tumbling them onward through the darkness, obliterating every lingering fear and hurt, scattering the remnants of their past. And just like that, they burst forth into a space of warmth and clarity, like being born anew. The shadows dissipated, their invisible chains shattered. Lisa and Max landed softly on solid ground, the chaos replaced by vast openness, the sun shining bright, illuminating their surroundings and piercing through every shadow that threatened. She clutched Max tightly to her as they stood in the new daylight, the air bright and fresh, filled with the promise of freedom. "We did it." Max smiled up at her, relief radiating from his innocent face. Tears streamed down Lisa's cheeks, exhilaration and love swelling in her chest. She had confronted her demons and faced the truth. The darkest corners of her heart had been laid bare. But in that exposure had come triumphant liberation. "Yes, we did. Together," she exclaimed, wrapping her arms around him, squeezing him tight as the last remnants of the darkness faded into the horizon. Lisa felt lighter, like a weight she had carried for so long had finally been lifted. With determined steps, they faced a world unfolding before them, bright and filled with possibilities. Her secrets no longer had power over her. She could finally breathe free, and as they walked hand in hand into their future, Lisa knew that whatever lay ahead would not be without challenges. But she was ready. They had survived the storm. They had faced the shadows. Now they would shine bright, not just for themselves, but for those they loved. This was their moment, and the past had no hold on them anymore. Before you go, listen up. If you don't want to miss more heart-pounding stories like this, subscribe immediately to the channel. This is the moment to show your support. And smash that like button now to turbocharge the algorithm. It matters. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild ride. Let us hear what you think. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You know they'll thank you for it later. Only true fans understand the importance of these actions. So step up and support this community.